More Hamas rockets hit Israel last week, and the Israeli blockade of Gaza continued. As the conflict continues to wreak devastation on human lives, polls in Israel show right-wing former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu edging ahead of more moderate, slightly Kadima party leader and current Foreign Defense Minister Tzipi Livni. Israel continued to launch attacks on Gaza the day before their own national elections. Last month, a 3-week Israeli assault left more than 1,300, mainly civilians, dead on the Palestinian side and 13 Israelis, 3 of them civilians on the Israeli side. As we have discussed on this program, throughout this period, it's been extraordinarily difficult for foreign observers and journalists to enter Gaza. Therefore, we're very happy to welcome back to Grit TV retired U.S. Army Colonel Ann Wright, who after 26 years in the military is now associated with Veterans for Peace and Code Pink, Women for Peace, and has just returned to the U.S. after a trip to Gaza. Ann, welcome back to Grit TV.
Thanks, Laura.
First off, last we heard you were stuck on the Gaza border, unable to enter Gaza. What happened? On the Egypt border, rather, unable to enter. What happened?
Well, fortunately for us, and kind of miraculously, we were let in on the second day that we were at the border. Most of the people that go to the Rafah border do not get in. The 3 of us, Medea Benjamin, Tyg Berry, and myself, got to go in. There were a couple of journalists from Italy that got to go in. Some Moroccan aid workers, doctors went in, but a whole ton of people were left at the gates. Engineers who were ready to go in to try to do an analysis of the damage that bombs had done and how to do reconstruction. 15 of them from Cairo University just left there.
So if you were doing an analysis of the damage that's been done, what would you say?
It's extensive. It's criminal what's happened. The Israeli rocket attacks, the artillery attacks, the naval bombardment in northern Gaza destroyed probably a half a mile of houses and of industries.
Now, the Israeli missiles are quite different from the Hamas rockets. They're supposed to be guided. Was there any evidence that there were targets they were going after? They're sophisticated weapons, unlike the Hamas
Indeed,
devices.
There were in the more built-up areas where they went after specific Hamas leadership homes or specific government facilities. You could see that, yes, a building was taken out, but the collateral damage that was done around that target was tremendous. And in fact, one of the human rights groups there said if you put a circle around every one of the strategic targets that they hit, that virtually all of the built-up area had been damaged. And indeed, we could see the windows blown out and fronts of buildings knocked off when they weren't the targets.
You went into hospitals. What did you find there?
Yes, Al-Shifa Hospital, in the largest hospital in Gaza City. Well, one of the fascinating things was they put up a tent out in front of it so that they, with posters of the wounded, the dead, the pictures of them, so you could see all of this. The ambulances that had been blown up, they'd been dragged in there so you could see it. The weaponry that was used, the shells, United States military equipment that is fired by the Israelis, that the remnants of that have been brought in, and you can see it, that U.S. taxpayers' money is being used to purchase those weapons for the Israelis, and they're sending our rockets into the people of Gaza.
That must have hurt for you as a member of that military for so long.
Well, it certainly does. I mean, the use of anybody's military should be proportionate. It should be only in the last resort for national defense. But I would certainly say that the Israeli response to the unguided, not that I'm condoning what Hamas does and other groups, militant groups there, sending rockets into Israeli territory, but the disproportionate response of the Israeli military is criminal, in my opinion.
No, there were more rocket attacks this week, and there are plenty of media headlines getting people to think, well, then we tried, there was an effort at a ceasefire, it's been broken, let them come what may.
No, what has been broken is the country of, or the area called Gaza, where the industries of Gaza were specifically targeted, knocked out. The unemployment rates before were well over 70%. Now, any sort of manufacturing that was going on there, trying to make things for the people of Gaza, has been torn up. Huge plots of agricultural areas where Palestinians were growing their own food in Gaza have been just knocked down, torn up by the tanks purposefully going into agricultural areas, knocking down olive trees, going into agricultural areas, poultry farms, growing their own poultry. One of the most extraordinary places we went, tragically extraordinary, was an area in North Gaza where a family, extended family called the Al-Sama family, where 37 of that one family were killed in one rocket attack after the Israelis had told all of them in this neighborhood, you've got to get into one building, as they destroyed the rest of it, and then they destroyed the building that 150 were in.
But is that any excuse for rockets on civilian parts of Israel?
No, but you can certainly see why it would happen.
What's the relationship right now between the people of Gaza and organizations like Hamas? And you said that there are others.
Well, it was the people of Gaza that elected Hamas. The people that we talked to said, they're the best that were there, that they have tried to do something for the Palestinian people. I think most of the people of Gaza certainly don't want these wars to be occurring, and they would wish that Hamas or the other militant groups would not fire those rockets, because it is triggering such a response from the Israelis. However, it's a response that figures in pretty well with the overall Israeli strategy, which is to force Palestinians out of area that legally is theirs, force them out of it so more settlements can be made.
The other event that happened in the last few days was the interception by the Israeli Navy of another aid shipment, a ship from Lebanon this time. What do you know about what happened there?
Well, it happened on the day actually we were leaving. The whole group that were on the primarily Lebanese that had come from a port, I believe it was out of the Beirut port, and were trying to break the blockade, were fired upon and then accosted, their ship taken to Israel. Everyone, well, the reports are that they were beaten up on board the ship, arrested. All of them have been released now except one international person who is still in jail somewhere.
Now, what happens to those people who are left in Gaza today with none of the infrastructure that you mentioned, unable to leave, and those doctors and engineers unable to get in? How would they get by? We've talked about who's hurting them, who's helping them.
Well, it's very difficult. I mean, when you have this whole population that is, many of them now living in tents because their homes have been destroyed, and the tents aren't well set up at all. And one of the ladies that we spoke with said, yes, we are in a tent, but there's nothing in it. There's a blanket, and that's it. When you have the food that comes in, other than UN rations, which tragically, in the last couple of days, Hamas has taken 2 of the convoys of UN food that's supposed to be going to the 900,000 out of 1.5 million people that live in Gaza are on UN rations. Hamas says they're not going to do it again. It was a mistake. Well, I hope it is, because that should not be happening at all. But for the people that are not on the rations, how do they get the food? Well, you talk about the tunnels that are still going on the Egyptian border. That was fascinating, because as we left after our 48 hours, as we had gone into Gaza, the Egyptian government, on the day we went in, made the decision that the border would close 48 hours later. And if you were in Gaza, you were going to stay there if you didn't come out on the Thursday. So our importance was to be able to be there, see things, talk about it as we come out, not to remain there. So we came on out, and the last thing we went to see were the tunnels. And on the Gaza side of the border, I mean, they're just right out there in the open, mounds of dirt, 20, 30 feet tall, where these guys are digging 1,500 tunnels. Several hundred of them have been destroyed by bombing, but it's amazing to me that all of them haven't been destroyed if they really wanted to.
Well, what reason do you think there might be behind that?
Well, I think that's the economic profit that a lot of Egyptians are getting from this, that they sell goods to the Palestinians at extraordinary profits to them. And then part of the profits go back to paying off the government officials that allow it to happen. I mean, it's out there in the open. And this $32 million the United States has given for tunnel detection, I mean, all you need is a pair of binoculars. It's detected. You don't need to give them $32 million for that. But it's extraordinary, the initiative, the creativity, the willingness to go through danger to keep those tunnels open that these Palestinians are doing. It's a city. Every one of the tunnels has generators, air compressors, refrigerators.
Well, it's their lifeline to food and medicine at this point.
It certainly is.
Ann, thank you so much. Ann Wright is with Veterans for Peace and Code Pink. Very quickly, you got an event you want to announce. You've got about 15 seconds.
We are going International Women's Day, a Gaza delegation. Talk to Code Pink Women for Peace, gaza.codepinkalert@gmail.com.
All right. March 8th, International Women's Day. You can find out more information at our website. We'll put up the link also to codepinkalert.org. The number is, the website for us is grittv.org. I thank you so much for watching. And Ann, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Laura.
Good luck.
Thanks.